we are tolerant, but they cannot tolerate a different opinion. They hate anybody who disagrees with them. It's sick.
What if we're butchering children, 5% of them, because nobody has the ability to grab their voice? What if I'm 5% right about sexualization in schools? Is that enough for you to do something? At what point is your country going to say to your prime minister, what in the hell is wrong with you?
Give our kids pure innocence. Why they indoctrinate those ideas into our kids' mind? That is not right. You want to be whatever you want. Leave our kids alone.
Parents need to be sending in their thoughts. I'm not here to tell you what to think. Figure out what's going on and vote for yourselves, guys, because this is something fierce.
Tamara Ugolini here with Rebel News. I'm on the lawns of Queen's Park at the legislature buildings in Toronto to cover the Million March for Children, which aims to unite diverse backgrounds and faiths to eliminate sexual orientation and gender identity, or SOGI 123 curriculum in publicly funded schools, stop the use and change of names and pronouns without parental consent, and in general end the promotion of gender identity confusion to children with mixed bathroom use in schools that many say put young girls at risk. That will be happening here shortly. We've arrived ahead of the crowd, and so have the counter protesters. There's about 100 of them gathered on the north lawn of Queen's Park. They've been called to action by their union, actually, the Ontario Federation of Labour, who called parents concerned with the radical infiltration of gender identity and sexual orientation into publicly funded schools. They've referred to that as ultra-conservative right concerns. And so we are here to give you on-the-ground coverage. If you'd like to stay up to date on all of our coverage on this topic, you can do so at stopclassroomgrooming.com. We're going to stick around and wait for some of the protesters to arrive, and then we'll wade into the crowd and see the situation as it unfolds, so stay tuned. And I'm joined by Scott Nugent, who came all the way from Texas to be here to share your experience with the gender identity and this ideology with the crowd. How has this ideology affected your life and I guess primarily your health?
Well, yeah, my health. So here's the thing. Medical transition is an experimental process. It's dangerous. It doesn't cure anything, and it causes massive, massive health issues like blood issue disorders, heart issues. Most women that are on testosterone have to be on blood thinners, so they get pulmonary embolism, heart attacks, and we can go through that. So for me, I'm on blood thinners for the rest of my life. I get reoccurring infections that I've gotten since I've gotten the phalloplasty. They won't go away, and one day those antibiotics won't work, and I'll lose my life.
You listen to our voices with receptive hearts. Understand that you may clash with many of us on issues. Still, this topic is butchering a gender-confused children for a profit with perverted intentions, both financially, sexually, and on this, we agree.
Mom, why was it important for you to be here today?
Well, 4 years ago, we immigrated to Canada from South Africa to get away from our kids, their lives being in danger. We didn't know we were going to come here to fight a different war. And I have a 5-year-old who's in senior kindergarten, and the stuff that she's being exposed to, her little mind, she can't fathom what's going on around her. She can't make sense of it. And we are Christians, but I don't think you need to be a Christian to know that this is wrong. We don't hate gay people. We're not transphobic. If you are gay, you are gay. That's part of life. But we don't want you to force these ideologies onto our kids when they can't make sense of it. They have no idea what to do with it at that young age.
Why was it important for you to be here today?
Why? Because it's for our children. Okay? God only created man and woman. And today we have to go and fight for our kids. Give our kids pure innocence. Why they indoctrinate those ideas into our kids' mind? That is not right. You want to be whatever you want. Leave our kids alone. Okay? That is a parent's right. You cannot violate that right. That's why I'm here.
I think first, I guess just the underrepresentation of this even happening online. And so when we did find out an event was happening, we thought it was important to show up. And now that we're here and we see a lot of the parents talking, I can feel the personal frustration. You know, our kid's not in school yet, but I think by the time we get there, it's just really important to show up and to say that these things are important. And there's people behind what's online. And I don't necessarily agree with all the chants going back and forward and people kind of yelling at each other. I think both sides can come from a place of love. You know, there's a place for both. I was talking to someone today on the other side who was just expressing fear that they'd have no safe place to tell how they feel. And maybe I don't completely agree with how they feel, but I do believe that we should all have the freedom to have, you know, share what we're going through. Yeah. So I think there's a mix of certain messages, but I just agree when it comes to legislation that parents come first. No matter what, parents come first. I spent a lot of time creating a baby and, you know, my heart is in it and I don't want to be removed from major decisions in her life until she's of proper age.
So I'm not a mother myself, but I interact with kids as a ski instructor, and I've seen it in teaching kids a while back in Ottawa, where a kid has come up to me and said that they're trans and they're no longer Sue, but they're Ben, and they're 13 years old. I raised that with the ski school director, and he said it's kind of a normal trend now. Last year we had a boy named Tom, and he said he was gay, and then the next year he said he was Ben, he's no longer gay. So it just seems like there's a pattern of confusion within schools. Speaking of friends who are teachers who work in schools, public schools, she came back after maternity leave and she said half the kids wanted to change their gender. So I don't understand why it's even being taught in schools. There's no reason to bring out such confusion in children.
Here today.
Because like my son says, leave our kids alone. They are kids. Their brain is not developed to understand what's going on. You cannot force them and put something in their brain that is not right. They are too young. They have to play. They have to be children before they get. We cannot put them into a stage of being adult in early stage. They have to live their being as a child.
We as parents, we don't need 3-4-year-olds being doctrinized into thinking that they are something they are not. They are children. Let them be children. I have 2 gay sons. I am not against LGB or whatever you want to call it. They have their rights. They do what they want. They're adults. You make your own decisions when you are an adult, but not when you're 3, 4 and up. They're even advocating 9-year-olds should be having sex. What's wrong with that picture?
I mean, I think that it's important for people to start having the same conversation. As we go further and further into this, you can see that, I mean, we're talking about parental rights, we're talking about sexualization of our kids, and then we have, never are we talking about an LGBTQ community, and then the counter argument is that they can't be seen. They are not seen in the material, or we're trying to ban books, or this has everything to do with children and the sexualization of children. If anyone is at most risk, would be this community that they're saying that they're protecting. And I think we need to start having the same conversation.
We're opposed here to what the union has done with this call to action, and that's what you see happening behind you, is the unions have put out this call that this is all about hate, no space for hate in Ontario and Canada. What would your message be to the people here on the perimeter who are protesting
My message is this, is that, you know what, these people were fine until I started talking and making sense. Once I started spouting the facts, they didn't want that. They only want the unicorn farts. Well, you know what? Facts matter to children. The protection of matters to children. What if I'm right? What's your first name?
I'm Tamara Ugolini.
What if I'm right?
I think you are right.
What if I'm 5% right? What if we're butchering children, 5% of them, because nobody has the ability to grab their voice? What if I'm 5% right about sexualization in schools? Is that enough for you to do something? At what point is your country going to say to your prime minister, what in the hell is wrong with you?
So we're hoping that we can get the provincial government to see sense and do what they should have done by now, and that's to regulate the the requirement that schools need to inform the parents about any gender confusion or gender dysphoria within the children. So any request to change their pronouns or things like that. I think quite a number of school boards and professional educators associations have made it blatantly clear that they do not intend to fall in line with the government's proclamation that parents should be informed about all these things. So that's what brings me out today anyways. I'm hoping that the government will see sense and follow the example of New Brunswick and Saskatchewan.
Yes. What do you think the solution is for Canadians and for parents who are concerned as we are met with this crowd of agitators?
Well, look at the numbers here today. I think people are afraid of being cancelled. People are afraid of showing up. I think parents need to show up and parents need to speak up.
What do you think of the union calling for all of these counter-protesters, and we see such aggression and agitation from them?
You know, they don't know what they are doing. Let God deal with them. And I know that our God is a Lord of heaven and He's on our side. And we are for sure will have a victory at the end.
What's the landscape in the school board, and do you have a message for parents who may be concerned but aren't getting that representation on the trustee level?
Yeah, the trustee level is a circus show, guys. People need to start paying attention. Democracy is completely gone. There's no debate. We had 2 motions to protect our children. I'm going to tell you how crazy this is. I think it's quite sensical. I don't think anyone could disagree with this, that we have specific books in elementary school, middle school, and high school, physically in the libraries. All we asked for at the board was for them to have a filtration system that aligned with that system. I don't think it's rocket science, doesn't cost very much money, just do it. It should have been a no-brainer. Oh, we didn't realize? Let's do it. Can you believe that was shot down? That motion was dismissed. We're ratifying it on the 30th in the Waterloo Region District School Board. Parents need to be sending in their thoughts. I'm not here to tell you what to think. Figure out what's going on and vote for yourselves, guys, because this is something fierce.
We are tolerant, but they cannot tolerate a different opinion. They hate anybody who disagrees with them. It's sick. We need to be able to talk together.
What do you make of the union's call for the violent and aggressive agitators on the other side there with the yielding the rainbow flags and their Antifa adjacent masking tactics?
Well, you know, it's not a surprising thing. When you don't have the truth, when you can't defend your position, then your only alternative is slander and violence. And that's been their choice of actions. And it's because they simply cannot justify the gender ideology that's being promoted within the schools.
Apart from having the government step in there, what could be the solution on a sort of a social level with this such great divide here on these, supposed 2 sides?
You know, I'm not sure that there really is one. It's sort of become obvious that the people who promote and support gender ideology don't really love the children. They love their ideology. That's what they love. And the children are just fodder to support that ideology.
All right, that is a wrap at the lawns of Queen's Park for the 1 Million March for Children. As you can see, the demonstrators have continued on with their march, with their police escorts because of such vile rhetoric being thrust at them by the union-provoked counter-protesters. I hope you enjoyed this report. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. The infiltration of radical sexual indoctrination and gender ideologies into publicly funded schools is exactly why we've launched a campaign and petition at stopclassroomgrooming.com. At that website, you can chip in if you'd like to support our independent journalism. You can sign our petition, and of course, you can view all of our previous reports on this subject. That website again is stopclassroomgrooming.com.